Okay, hi, hello, welcome back. Hey, it's episode at least 7. I've put no thought into this intro. And we're only 4 hours, 46 minutes, 55 seconds into the stream, and we're starting episode 1 of the day. So, we're playing some more Beyond Typus beta with major overhauls, and I'm getting attenuated to the save again. And I'm trying to remember where we were at. So, Monarch Point generation's really bad right now, but we don't care as much as normal because Monarch Points are devalued. Our air's decent. I think we intentionally renamed this one wrong because someone had a channel redemption request, which was super... It is a super Twitch chatter thing to do. Let me just find my reward queue. Someone had noticed that we had these, and they had intentionally asked to rename a +3 or 4 plus, sorry, a +3 or a +4 Babby, and they chose the name +2 Babby. It looks like we have another one coming up. Oh no, that's part of that one. So anyway, so they intentionally made me name it the wrong thing, just to mess with you. Our error is actually a +3, you know, +1, 2, and then 3, but we named it +2. Funny, haha. But are these correct to run? Are we doing a lot of missionary stuff right now? Yes, we've got missionary needs. We'll keep that one on. Do we need perform progress growth modifier +25%? In general, yes, always. It's almost always worth converting 1 monarch point a month into more governing capacity, because governing capacity directly translates... Sorry, not governing capacity, reform progress. Because reform progress directly translates into governing capacity, and governing capacity directly translates into autonomy modified development. Almost always, we're essentially doing development by converting 1 admin point into reform progress, is how I see this. This is a development click. This is what we're replacing vanilla development with. This decision to do this conversion. Oh yes, we want that. Do we want to do this? Do we want 20% more development points per month? I believe this is a... I can't remember if it's additive or if, I think it might actually be multiplicative. I think this does get applied after all the other stuff. Let's run it at least for a month and see again. I don't think it'll show up in the tooltip until the monthly tick happens. In the last 5 hours, I've only managed to play 1 day, but if you want to watch the Twitch VOD, twitch.tv/Arumbo7, talked about a lot of fun stuff. Probably going to want this on, I think. Probably, because we're ahead of time on 2 techs, and we're going to get Diplotech 15 fairly soon, no matter what, because it's only going to cost 300 points. And then after that, we have nothing to spend Monarch points on. We're 13 years at a time on all tech. We're doing great on innovativeness, despite not having innovative ideas. At this point, I feel like all admin points that we earn are going to go toward coring. We're pretty well primed now for aggressive conquest. We were looking at modifiers, and I think we're at like minus 50% core creation cost base, plus 10% from claims. So we're at minus 60% core creation cost. I don't think there's anything else we were waiting for. Most of these admin points are going to get earmarked for conquest. Diplo points, we are already at 100% mercantilism because of the frankly abusive amount of value and power you get out of going espionage ideas as a monarchy, because it unlocks the puppet the nobility government reform on tier 2. Being allowed to freely revoke privileges lets you just grant and retract exclusive trade rights over and over again, and every time you do, you get 3 mercantilism. So anytime you play as a monarchy, if you go espionage ideas, you can have 100% mercantilism, essentially for free. All it really costs is piss the burgers off for, I don't know, 7 days. And then once they forget about it, you get all the value with none of the cost. And theoretically, if you want, you can even turn, get out of a state, out of puppet the nobility at the end. I think we'll keep it at least until absolutism, because this is also extremely good for the age of absolutism. We could just freely revoke all of our privileges and pivot into the absolutism era playstyle. Check chat. Chat's talking about Ambinar because someone mentioned it, and now they're distracted. Pancake's yelling at me because I haven't streamed since yesterday, and he learned, I taught him, damn it, that every time I'm sitting in this room talking, he can just start yelling at me and I'll give him wet food. He hasn't had any wet food for 2 weeks. However, he is now yelling at me for the first time in 2 weeks. Little shit. Okay, so admin point. So what are diplo points going to go toward? What can we probably do want to just run another diplomat just to have it. We already have that many of them, but like I don't need these points. I was probably waiting for the next tech, and then we'll turn the diplomat back on. I think that's probably why I'm not running it right now. Military points, we only generate 4 per month. However, we're already at the professionalism cap, so there's really no reason to run this. And yearly innovativeness. I mean, I think I came to the conclusion that we're going to get to 100 no matter what, which disincentivizes me for doing this conversion and encourages me instead to just like roll random generals so that I can... Thanks for knocking all my shit off the table, cat. He's just such a mess. Rolling more generals to increase the average quality of our generals feels like a larger impact to me right now than getting slightly faster to the cap. But we already have some pretty damn good generals, so I think we will turn that one back on it. Ghost Pancake. I don't want to encourage him. I'm not going to pay any attention to him. He needs to learn that he can yell all day, and I'll never pay attention to it. It's not cruel, but he needs to learn that doing that behavior does not cause a reaction. We have the Cossacks estate, which is awesome. Our cavalry are super good, super good, super cheap. They cost 40% less than normal, while doing 45% increased combat ability and have Beyond Typus level multipliers. These cavalry are nuts. Also, because of a thing we did that was kind of weird, I think at one point I had the Cossacks up to like 60 or 70% crown land, or estate land. So the math on these privileges to increase Cossack force limit fraction went a bit silly. And at one point we had, and may even still have, we have 35 Cossack force limit available on a base force limit of 67. Just before I forget, in case Herbivore sees this, from a balance perspective, I think you might want to change Cossack fraction from the Cossack's estate from that privilege. Because, okay, so Beyond Typus makes force limit harder to get, and you don't get it until a little bit later than in vanilla. Regimental camps come around the same tech, roughly, as vanilla, but on average, your whole country will have higher average autonomy, which reduces the efficacy of regimental camps. And also, in Beyond Typus, regimental camps only give 0.5 force limit, not 1. So you get it around the same time, but it's not nearly as impactful. Also, grain in Beyond Typus does not give 0.5 flat land force limit. So across the board, land force limit is a lot harder to come by, but we still have roughly the same like percentage of our max force limit in Cossack fraction from the privilege, but cavalry are dialed up to 11 in power. So essentially we have available Cossack fraction in excess. This is too much. I should not be able to field half of my force limit, even though I messed with it and like intentionally. I did this on purpose. And the way you do this, by the way, is you intentionally grant the privileges to the estates so that the only estate that actually gets affected by seize land is the one. Like you make it so that any dev click or any seize land doesn't affect the one estate you care about, and then only affects the other 3, and then you can like balloon this, even if it's just temporary. But even if I hadn't done that, this still feels too high. And this is post ballooning. This used to be higher. But if cavalry are going to be this much stronger, I'm definitely running some Cossack infantry, right? Yeah, 18 Cossack infantry. Because I just don't need that many Cossack cavalry. We should run some more, though. We're already at the cap, sadly. We need more land force limit. I need to prioritize land force limit buildings. 0.5 land. Ugh. It's so small. I want more force limit. Anyway, so I was trying to decide if my monarch points were being spent properly. It's so weird to me that this feels good, but yeah, this looks fine. 3 points a month, right? That's all you need. Whatever. Not like we gotta do development or anything. Development's free. Automatic. We also got this whole thing that I kind of mentally internalized a little bit. So this system was once every who knows how long we do a click. We don't have to think about that right now. Then these 6 are all homeostatic, balanced things. Each one does a specific thing. This one's national tax modifier. This one's mostly improved relations. This one is manpower recovery speed modifier, expand administration cost, trade efficiency, and sailor recovery speed. So anytime one of these gets too influential and it's not the one we actually want, we click the one that's red or clickable to reduce its influence, therefore increasing the influence of the one we want. The one I want out of those 6 is the expand administration cost. We're gonna click this. I'm just gonna click it now, even though we want the tech. But yeah, that's basically the only logic that needs to go into this decision is which of these modifiers is the most valuable to me, and then therefore which one do I want to encourage the most. Yeah, I feel like that's all pretty self-explanatory, right? And the reason why expand administration cost modifier is the most appealing is because governing capacity, endless, and we need it. So if we can get that modifier all the way, it is still currently trending up. It's at 59.2 out of a maximum of 100. So we're getting minus 30% expanded administration cost, and we can get it all the way up to minus 50. We got another minus 20. Then the cost to do this would be, I don't know how many times I've actually done it yet, but pretty sure we were able to hit the cap just by getting that one modifier all the way to its maximum. What am I looking for? It's E, expand administration cost. Yeah, so we're minus 60%. It's like we've already done 3 clicks. I can get it back to like minus 80. Okay. Just again, for my own benefit, I want to reiterate one more time that I slipped into some bad behaviors from vanilla, and I currently have not focused on expansion enough and have focused too much on trying to get autonomy low, which is not the correct playstyle for this overhaul system. Our country looks wrong. This is bad. We're probably at like 60 to 70% of the strength we could have when our country is looking like this. We're still we're strong. We're making money. We've got stuff and numbers and things. We're like 5th rank great power, etc., etc. We murdered the Ottomans. But we want to look like this. As we expand more and more, it's just I need to focus more on a conquest, which is why we have admin ideas and why we want to do stuff and things. So yeah, it's not that green is bad, it's that focusing on low autonomy at the expense of conquest or expansion is counterproductive, because essentially the government overhaul system in this beta is making it so that where's the best tooltip for us to look? The number we care about the most, the best indicator for how strong we are, is in this tooltip, in the parentheses, second row. We have 1141.16 local, we have 1141.16 autonomy modified development. If we were to individually in every single province look at what's the development of the province and what's the autonomy of the province, and then calculate the autonomy modified dev. A 10 dev province at 30% autonomy is now 7. And then add everything up, we would add up to 1141. Every single province we conquest, we're going to gain governing capacity and gain development. And this number will go up. No matter what, always. Expansion is always good. The system does not punish you for expansion. It just makes it so that as you expand, if you hadn't focused on being efficient and trying to improve your country's ability to manage large amounts of land, each extra development is not as good as it would be. So you're still getting stronger. You're always going to get stronger if you gain dev. It doesn't like punish you. And then actually in vanilla, you can be punished. If you're at the governing capacity, and then you go over it, and you suddenly have like a whole bunch of admin efficiency malice, you actually can get weaker by expansion in vanilla. This system feels like it would punish you, but it doesn't, because it has homeostatic systems in place. Like, does that make sense? Have I explained any of this in a way that makes sense? We want to keep expanding. We want to make our government, our map, look like the countries that are doing it correct. And I fell into bad habits and focused primarily on trying to get everything to 0, which is a vanilla playstyle thing. As we expand, these will slowly, eventually, not be at 0. Our capital state will still probably stay at 0. But overall, our autonomy modified dev will go up, and we will have more power, more income, more force limit, more money, more everything. Think you missed that part? Yeah. Okay, last thing before we will actually continue to unpause. We were looking at missions, trying to find like a good next main thing to think about. I didn't get that far into that process though. I guess we'll just look at where we have permanent claims and like go take it, because I want it. Could you give it? I want it. The clay? Excuse me, sir. I believe you have my clay. So yeah, the last time I played, I'll admit, it was yesterday. I really wanted to play World of Warcraft. We're not going to play World of Warcraft right now. But I also really didn't want to actually have to micro my armies and stuff, so I just sort of didn't. And let's actually like go play EU4 now. So like these numbers, whatever. Give the clay. Give me Kayseri. Sorry, buddy. We're gonna take it. I know you have it and you feel like it's yours. Like you should have it. But I fundamentally disagree with that stance, and I think that you should just give it. Okay, these guys are trading Constantinople. I remember briefly doing some like thinking about moving our trade port, and I don't know if we actually completed that decision. I think we were close. I think we did maybe a ooh, what has he got in there? Excuse me, sir. 12 galleys are enough to like actually like kill our ships? Did you go like dumb ideas? Do you have something that's making your ships like scary? Or is it because my fleet didn't arrive together? Or is it because I don't have any combat ships and I'm a greedy bastard? Probably. We didn't need those ships, okay? That's not what I tried to do. Still trying to like reacclimate to the controls because I've been playing World of Warcraft. I actually haven't. I haven't actually used my computer in 2 weeks. Aside from like watching TV. Doesn't really count. Yes. I instantly sink that one ship, get the Navy merged. Build this fleet to protect trade in here again. We're using outdated ships? Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. We've talked about it before, but like let's just briefly talk about if we want naval power, we would build combat ships. If we want economic power, we want to build the most effective economic ship. What is the most effective economic ship? Is it the newest, bestest, most powerfulest light ship? Yes, you should build that. But what about an old ship? Should we click the upgrade ships button? We detach obsolete ships and then like, oh, look at all these old ships. Should we update these? We should probably update the flagship, but like, is this a good click? No, this is a horrible click. You should never do this click because you're spending the exact cost it would cost to build a brand new one from scratch. So for convenience, you're just building a new one with an extra step involved. If we really wanted to be efficient, what we should do is sell these to some other country. Hopefully someone we're about to attack so we can then sink them all. But you sell them for basically what they cost. And if you have privileges that like reduce the cost of your ships, you can often sell a light ship for 15 to 20-ish gold on average and essentially get a 100% discount to the cost of upgrading ships. So we don't have to spend 400 gold, we can just spend 0. 0 is less than 427. So now the next part to the formula is which economic ship is the most effective, and the answer is the oldest light ship. As we upgrade the quality of our light ships, it increases the number of sailors required. It increases the trade power of the fleet, but not by as much as the sailor usage goes up. So if we keep outdated ships that only give 2.5 trade power, but they also only cost like whatever the number of sailors is, and that number of sailors is less than the difference in the ratio of the trade power difference, we're getting more trade power per sailor, which means eventually when we hit that point where we have too big of a navy and we have to build docks. This is more of a vanilla feeling, but like when you have to build a dock, you know, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do this button. I hate this button. Sailors are stupid. I would much rather build almost any other building than a dock, because you either have sailors and don't need them, or you have none. That is, there is a binary state in every campaign ever, and eventually your light fleet will just be strong enough to murder everyone, so you should just do it with the oldest crap ships ever that are most effective, so you can build fewer of the crap buildings and instead build the good buildings. The ones that give more naval force limit, for example. So, long story short, yeah, we probably have a whole bunch of outdated ships, and they probably all just sank. Oh well, whatever. Also, we are playing Beyond Typus, and it radically changes the value of buildings and math and numbers and things, and there's also a lot more types of buildings. And as we were talking about before the actual YouTube video I'm recording right now, you will, in every run of Beyond Typus, hit a point where you don't have enough building slots. Like, the decisions you make with building slots actually matter as it's currently balanced. And I don't want to get blocked from building something amazing. Like, say, like, would you rather build a dock or would you rather build a granary? This one gives plus 0.05 development points per month. That's so many. Would you rather build a dock or a college that gives stuff and things? Or even a post office? Trade value plus 40%. Take this number. Take that number, 3.54, and just flat multiplicative times 1.4 it. That makes every dev click you do here 40% stronger. Like, it's a much better building than a freaking stupid dock. I will never get off this horse or hill or whatever. Sailors are stupid. They should have never been added to the game. I hate them. And it was fine before they existed. And if they needed to change naval mechanics, they should have introduced a system where navies used manpower. These men are different than these. These ones can't hold guns. They can only go on boats. What a stupid concept. I'm pretty sure sailors can hold guns. I think you can teach a sailor how to ride a horse. If there's that many that could go on boats, then they could probably hold guns. Like, it's ridiculous that they can't. They're dumb. And I believe in Beyond Typus, or maybe it was, there was a mechanic, but I think it might have been part of, the Idea Variation mod. It lets you convert manpower into sailors, or sailors into manpower. But I don't think that's part of vanilla Beyond Typus. We're gonna get very confused soon. We're seeing no armies, which means the AI is probably terrified of our troops. However, we are being fully blockaded because these dummies... I hate this tooltip so much. I understand everything's blockaded. Could you, like, consolidate that and then, like, actually let me see the, like, breakdown of what types of ships are here? Instead of just repeating it over and over and over again. 3 heavies, 14 galleys, and there's a thing at the very top. There could be, I think there might even be another navy up there. So they got naval superiority. That's dumb. Let's just naval force. I was a little too greedy. I think this naval composition is another side effect of me going into like a just let autonomy come down and play lazy and don't try to expand behavior that I slipped into. We were not yet ready, and might not ever be ready in Beyond Typus, honestly, to abandon the concept of a combat navy. I think combat navy might be more valuable in Beyond Typus than I would value it in vanilla. Partially because the just overall balance of like buildings and economy and stuff in vanilla is so different that just look at all of the buildings we could build right now. If we were playing vanilla, every single building that could be built would already be built, and we would just be like spamming it in the least effective places ever. I would definitely not be like actually having to consciously choose which building is the best. And if you reach that point, I don't care how many ships sink, I'm just going to build more. But because I'm not at that point, I don't want to have to spend gold building new ships, so I kind of want to have a combat navy. And I got lazy. I'll admit it, I got lazy. We should have some galleys. Do we have any modifiers to galleys from our stupid national ideals or whatever? I don't think we do. But galleys are probably just the best option. We don't want to build heavies. I do want to manually isolate the flagship and make sure it's upgraded. Not because it's a good click, but because the flagship sinking and then not being in existence for a while is bad, real bad, compared to just having it all the time. And then we'll just build around the galleys, I guess. 400 days. 1,000 days is too many days. 300 days is a good number of days. We do have a special naval DLC. We do, but I'm pretty sure we don't have it turned on. We've got Merchant Navy because I'm a greedy bastard. We've got Tactitia. It costs 625 gold to change to, and even more to undo it if we switched back to it. So it's not just a decision of should we turn it on and then take this for this war? Do we turn it on and then leave it on forever, or do we just like switch back? Reevaluating it now? Ship disengagement. I need to remember what is base ship disengagement. I think it might be only like 5% or 2% or something. And it's one of those that's like not in the list until you have some of it. It's really hard to evaluate how effective that modifier is. Or maybe it doesn't show up unless you're in the combat screen or something. I'm almost certain you've got like 1% disengagement per maneuver of the Admiral. Or is that capture chance? No, I think it is disengagement chance, 1%. 15% is really high. That's actually really high. Might actually be justified. I don't think we're going to click it now because we're not in a position economically to be able to make a big change like that. But again, coming back into this with fresh eyes and reevaluating and realizing that, yeah, we kind of probably do want to actually have a combat navy instead of just having your light ships like vanilla. If that's true, that increases the value of this thing. If I didn't have one selected and I had the money to choose one right now, I think I would recalculate and actually choose this over ship trade power. Just honestly, just based on the ship disengagement plus 15. I actually want to look it up. I am almost certain that base disengagement is extremely low. And that 15% is an insane, huge number. Which doesn't necessarily matter unless you're losing fights, but like, it's not just that we'd get that, we'd also get the combat ability. And it's just... All right, so Wiki says... engagement with... disengage. Alright, any ship with less than 0.5 will try to disengage. Base value is 10%. So we'd be going from 10% base, plus 1%, I think, per maneuver, plus a flat 15. Go from 10% to 25%. 5 over 10. Literally 2.5 times as much. Really strong. Seems strong. Seems like a pretty good option. Would love if there was some naval force limit in there or something, but what the hell am I doing with my, like, my army compositions right now? Like, what is going on with these? Like, what are these? Do I have templates? Did I ever use templates? I never, God, I got so lazy. Chat, why did you let me get so lazy that I don't even have army templates specified yet? What composition is best? We still have relatively low supply. Very low. Very low. So freaking low. Ideally, I'd like to run like an 11 stack right now, based on what I'm seeing, so that we could try to get overruns on 1 stacks. And just in case you're not familiar, an overrun is a special mechanic that says if your army is 10 times the size of the enemy army, you will instantly annihilate it. There will be no battle, you just kill it. So by being at 11 troops instead of 10 or less, we would be able to trigger overruns. Every time an AI tries to train troops near us, we would just instantly overrun all those battles, which increases effectively increases movement speed, and also just lets you really, really penalize the AI for trying to train more men. They lose the gold for hiring the troops. They lose the 1,000. Well, they technically only lose 500 manpower. Did you know that, Jimmy? Did you know that? Raise your hand in chat if you knew that when you get stack wiped, you get refunded half the manpower that you lost. And it gets instantly returned to your manpower pool. And overruns are considered a type of stack wipe. So overruns reduce the enemy's manpower by 500, not 1,000. But then they'll just train another troop, and you overrun that one too. So, double checking my flashy's running. Cool. Dalus Mongoose, thank you for your sub. Cheers. So yeah, so 11 stack would be appealing. It fits within the force limit. Also, let's do overruns. 1 artillery is probably all we can really afford in our stacks. And we've got a decent cavalry ratio. And we actually have pretty strong manpower recovery. And I do remember talking about this last episode. Recorded yesterday, of course. When we are suffering insufficient support penalty for having too much cavalry, all that really does is increase the casualties our cavalry stacks will take, which costs us manpower, because we have to reinforce them, and costs us the gold to reinforce them, but they still kill just as well when they're insufficiently supported as when they're not. So the ability for us to compress power into a small number, essentially if we had infinite money, we would disregard the cavalry to infantry ratio and just field more cavalry anyway. It would make us way less effective with manpower, way less effective with gold, but we would kill so freaking much more men because of the balance in Beyond Typus, especially when you've got 45% base combat ability, 3.5 shock multiplier, and all of our Cossacks, except for this one, not Jimmy, this is his friend, all of our Cossacks also have an extra 15% flat shock damage multiplier that applies multiplicatively against the 3.5. Which applies multiplicatively against the 45% combat ability. Like, our cavalry are nuts. They murder the crap out of things. But all that to be said, we want a lot of cav, actually. I know. Who am I and what did I do with the Roomba? We actually do want a lot of cav. So let's do, like, 4 cav? Can we just get away with a 5-5-1? Just run right at the red line, right at the cav ratio. I think we do. I think. They do still cost more than our infantry, because our national ideas give minus 20% regiment cost on infantry. But we have minus 40% regiment cost for cavalry. So our cav cost 15, and our infantry cost 8. So they're basically double the cost. And I would probably rank them at like 4 times the strength. I want to run as many of these as I can. But also, we're not doing amazingly economically. I think I should still do like a 6-4. I don't think I can actually do that much cav. Yeah, I'm leaning toward that. It's the economic part, DeBomb, is what's pulling me toward a slightly better, more vanilla ratio. Not to mention, I mean, it is worth mentioning, that 4 cavalry is a sweet spot that you want to hit because of just vanilla deployment mechanics. The fact that if this army engages an equal-sized army, it's going to deploy in a specific way because cavalry have hard-coded logic that they attempt to deploy on the edges of the battle, as long as there's enough infantry to match the enemy combat width. So, how do I explain this? If we engage, certain armies that we engage are going to be, long story short, 4 is a good number. We should probably do 4 for multiple reasons. 4 because it's 4, and then also because economically I don't think I can actually afford quite as much ratio. We could even make the argument that we shouldn't include cavalry in our primary armies at all. Sorry, artillery in our primary armies at all, and just have them be part of a specialized regiment, specialized like army that is like, this is the siege focus. Which is interesting because if we were playing vanilla, we're 100% already far enough into the run where I would be running like 16 O10 stacks. Every single siege is going to be, you know, max siege status from artillery. Economically, we'd be banking 30-40% net income, and it would just run no cavalry at all, like 40,000 artillery, and we just focus on 4 sieges at once. We can't do that. Beyond Typus changes all of the math, and while we do want some artillery, think about it. Our artillery, just look at the, here, I'm gonna pull out of this for a sec. I hate that you can't save it if I go back in, but like, because our cavalry are 40% cheaper, and our infantry are 20% cheaper, and our artillery are still full price, that further incentivizes changing the general balance of our army composition in favor of more combat focus rather than siege focus. Also consider that sieges are just way faster in Beyond Typus versus vanilla. In vanilla, you've got 2 fort level per fort building here. You've got 30-day base siege ticks. In Beyond Typus, you have 20-day siege ticks and only 1 fort level per fort building. So we can get +5 siege status from just 5 artillery. We don't need 10. We just need 5. So if we try to approach this from a vanilla perspective and start running 16 O10 stacks, we're going to be spending tons of money on artillery maintenance that we really don't need. And I think that I think I kind of slipped into bad habits, like, oh, hey, I have artillery, I should probably buy artillery. Again, just reevaluating this with a fresh set of eyes and looking at the numbers and remembering that this is like literally double what it would be in vanilla right now. In fact, anyone in chat want to do the math for me or just check real quick? Just get into a save and like change the date until Miltech 15. Or even just like go look at the wiki and like look up what should cavalry shock be right now if we were in vanilla. I want to know what it should be versus what it is, what they've done in Beyond Typus. Also their fire value. I want to estimate that it should be like 0.5 fire and like 2 or 2.5 shock. So just based on that alone, 3.5 over say 2.5, we 40% more damage than normal. Before factoring in things like our combat ability and shock damage multiplier from caustic troop type, etc. So all that to be said, I think I will. I think I'm actually going to change my mind, and we're not even going to include artillery in the basic stack. And let's make the basic stack a 6.5. Or no, maybe even actually just a 7.5. I really want to do a lot of cav. I want to focus cav. I think we do a 6.5. And then we'll have a few support artillery that we kind of move around. Chat says on Miltech 15, we should be at... Okay. How do I parse what you're saying? 11 shock plus 2 fire. I'm going to just assume that Devik did the math for me. Our cavalry should have only 2 shock and 0.5 fire. So they're double strength in fire phase and nearly double strength in shock phase. We could still have 45% combat ability with our ideas and the Cossacks estate, so that part's kind of a non-factor. We could still have the cavalry shock damage multiplier from the Cossacks troop type, but we would be doing half the damage. They're just literally twice as strong as they would be. That is really interesting, and that also encourages me to consider like religious ideas. Isn't that insane? Like just flips the whole math on its head. Deus Vult, getting the ability to get like high war score from battles and having a very, very strong battle-focused military composition, this indirectly increases the value of Deus Vult. If I know that my troops are godlike and I can just get super easy 40 war score from battles by murdering the crap out of them. Interesting. Also not a bad fit, just like thematically from, you know, playing as Byzantium. You know, we're basically the last bastion of orthodoxy, and we're gonna need to convert a lot. Just look at the religious map mode is not a lot of Orthodox. Us versus the world. Alright, so we've got, I guess we're gonna want to, I might even reduce the artillery that we have. If we have any fully, like, any artillery that are not drilled at all. No, I got so lazy. I actually, like, I just, like, did nothing long enough that all of the artillery have full drill. I'm gonna give it on this. This icon is so useless because it's just always going to be on because I'm never going to click this button. I hate that so much. Our subjects need to go away because they're being silly. We are missing a leader and we have room for 2 and we're caught up on tech. Who shall lead? And roll 2. Have you worth checking how many religious buffs we will get from the mission tree? 10% missionary strength. If you get the 10% missionary strength you get in vanilla, religious ideas might be overkill. I wouldn't take religious ideas for the conversion strength or the missionary count. I would take it for Deus Vult. I would literally take the entire ID group just to have access to a CB. You understand, right? Like what Deus Vult does. Just in general, anyone in chat not know how it works, and I'll explain it. I would be taking it, Alexa, for Deus Vult. I don't care about the missionary stuff at all. That's all just, those are all just side perks. You know what icon isn't useless? The icon of Christ! We probably have the icon of Christ on. Da bomb, 48. What are we rolling anyway? 2 guaranteed pips, 7 to 17. Okay. That seems like a really low ball roll. 1, 4, 2, 2. That is what? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's a 9. You just rolled a minimum roll. Okay, cool. Nice. Nice. Very nice. I mean, in an alternative universe, you just rolled a 17. Like this guy. Is that actually 17? 11 plus... Hold on, 11 plus 6. Yeah. 17, yeah. It's just... Wait, no. He would actually be a 19 pip if you rolled a 17. Yeah, okay. Still, that's a little bit better. We take those. We take them rolls. Those are good rolls. Pull these artillery off and get them consolidated into a primary siege stack. And then let's actually get 2 of the non-siege focused stacks to group and focus on murder. The murder. Just want to do some murder. This is too many. We'll pull the cav off. We'll go down to take the better one. Is mana on unjustified demands. 25% aggressive expansion. The AE is a factor, but for me, the absolute largest factor in the value of Deus Vult is that it allows for you to do conquest based on superiority. Superiority as a mechanic is fairly uncommon. You can get it from things like trade dispute or having a bad embargo, like if someone's embargoing you and you're not embargoing them, it'll give you a specific type of trade dispute CB that is based on show superiority. And whenever you have show superiority as the war goal, you get bonus war score for having at least 10 war score from battles. But another major, super important factor is that all battles over a certain threshold will have a flat 3 war score value added to the value of that battle. When you win a battle, you get whatever it would have been plus 3 more. So not only do you get like ticking war score for having won battles, but like if you just like focus on battles and like get them beat a couple times, you'll just get tons and tons of war score from battles. Super easy to get to 40 war score from battles, and then you can take a nice 20 to 50% chunk out of them with very minimal effort. Now, I don't usually do that. I don't prioritize religious over, say, innovative offensive in a vanilla run, because even though Deus Volt's very strong, if you use it that way, and the fact that it applies to all provinces, conquest of all provinces is valid. You take things you have no claims on at all. None of it costs stipple points because it's part of the CB. Unlike a conquest war based on claims, which you only get to take land that's part of your claims, or whatever. So that part's nice, but you're actually, usually in vanilla against the AI, you're actually faster if you just go innovative offensive and just siege their whole country before they can react. And you'll actually get to the point where they will capitulate at a higher average war score than I have experienced getting using Deus Vult. But we're playing Beyond Typus, and it changed everything. Cavalry are supercharged. Buildings are different. Economy's different. Autonomy does things. Sieges are faster, but also artillery is less valuable and more expensive, kind of effectively. So, like, everything is up in the air, and all that to be said that Deus Vult be good. We should still probably take the time to transfer forts to the bestest mensch. Who is the bestest mensch? What are these menches? We got some menches. We were in the process of revoking march status. I think we revoked all marches, because the decision to make them all marches was fun, and I love having big, strong marches, because they just like go do things, and they actually have competent armies that can murder people. And that's always fun. But they were a mistake, because we should have intended to integrate that in order to actually have the right governing capacity stuff going on with this overhaul mod. Yeah, we had to revoke all the march statuses, and then we turned Albania, and I want to say, isn't there a guy here? Isn't Gazari one of our dudes? Yeah. So right now we have two Koropolits. Sorry, apparently they're called Catapanets after you revoke their hereditary status. So you go from regular vassal, turn him into a Koropolit, then you turn the Koropolit into a Catapanet, and a Catapanet is full inheritance as if it were a personal union, like just fully inherit them whenever their leader dies. It says they have an heir, it's lying. When this dude dies, we get that province. And when this dude dies, we get all of Albania. That's what those are. Unfortunately, we can only turn our subjects into Koropolits or Cantapanets if they have 200 or less dev, and these two are slightly too big. I think we made the decision to continuously revoke territory from Serbia to get him down to 200, but that Tarnovo was a bit too big, and we were just going to have to pay the price to integrate him. Unfortunately, I had to restart the integration timer, which is 25 years, so we can't do this integration until 1603. But that's fine. Oh, and I was trying to decide, so who's the bestest person to transfer our forts to? It's probably whoever has the least net income that isn't already a Koropolit or Cantapanet. I don't think with Serbia's gold mine income that we're going to be able to ever get them in a position where they have to go into debt. Not to mention that forts only cost like 0.4 gold per month base versus Vanilla's 1.0. So transferring all of the occupied forts to a subject is not as viable in Beyond Typus experimental branch. It just doesn't... It's a lot harder to put your subjects in debt. Serbia's scootaged. We can't actually pull him and transfer things to him. I'm just going to transfer everything to Tarnovo and see if it's possible to maybe we can get him to go into debt, and maybe we could turn him into a Cantapanet. Probably not, but maybe. That's the first fort, and we also have that one. Okay. One's a fort. Oh. These should come out of here. Who's our bestest fighter mensch? We got a 4-6 with land fire damage plus 10. And we've got 3-5. I think we do want the 4-6, even though he's got a fire modifier. 29 troops. We have combat width at 29, so we'll have full engagement. We are relieving a defensive siege in the mountains. This used to be a -3 penalty in Beyond Typus, but recently in the beta got nerfed back down to -2. But we are the defender, so maybe we get there in time. I wish we had more cavalry ratio, but We'll take that fight. 29 on 38. Let's see how we do. They're -2. No river crossing. They have a 4-4. Come on, shock. Murder it. He has... I feel a little guilty. A little bit guilty. I feel like I'm bullying an AI. Look at their composition. That is awfully vanilla. That's an awfully skewed toward artillery ratio. I wonder if the AI is smart enough in this version of the mod to understand just how bad artillery are relative to cavalry. I don't think they are. I hope that Harbor War's done enough poking around in defines to tweak their interest in artillery and cavalry enough. Because like we're just running a pure combat thing and they're trying to run 18 artillery. I feel like I'm bullying the AI right now, you know? I'm using modifiers they don't understand, that kind of thing. Whatever. We're just gonna do it. Blockade. Oh no. I guess we and admin points because they don't matter. I mean, they do matter, but do they matter? Do they though? 2 artillery or 2 siege pips here, or 3 siege pip guy there instead. These troops can spread out to. Is that occupied? I can't tell. It is not occupied. You go here. You go here. Pull. This army is, of course, way too large. Let's put them up. We can start the siege without our artillery. We'll start to we'll use a siege approach where, if I were to compare it to vanilla, we're effectively like economy limited. So we're gonna have an army that has the best siege leader and almost all the artillery, like 75 to 80% of the artillery, for the most part, will be there. Ideally, we want to hit like 6. I would say 6 artillery is a good target for us, so that if we have 50% control of a node, we can turn on inland routes and we can get up to +6 siege status. Yeah, actually 8 is a bad number here because we're not. I don't believe we need them. I think we're actually at the cap with just 5. Yep. But we'll run 6 so that if they suffer disease outbreaks, they still stay above 5. If we were at 5, they would go down to like 4,700, and then you miss it on the next tick, and ticks really fast. We'll pull the good cav off. We'll go down to like a 1006, and this can be a auxiliary army. Yeah, the army will start to move around, and like we'll have combat stacks start sieges without the intent of finishing them, and then cycle in the siege stack after it knocks down each individual fort. Essentially, like I said, only running 1 siege stack. We're in economy is crap mode. Feels weird. The sack of Dimashq. We did it! Are you calling it Dimashq? But it's Damascus. I guess the city has been historically renamed to the correct name of Dimashq. Don't value professionalism. Do value money. Let's take it. Such are the rules of warfare. And we can move on to the next fort. These armies can here and here and here. Autocrator. Mine autocrator. Did I say mine? I know there's stuff going on in the world politically that maybe people don't like German. I don't know. We're not playing Germany, so I guess probably shouldn't. How do you say mine in Greek? It's super dark in here suddenly. Absolute minimum, I would say 4 in vanilla, so you can barrage any level 3 fort. My personal favorite, like, early game vanilla combat balance is you've got super poor economy weak mode, which is 1 artillery. As soon as you get access to any artillery at all, you should always run an artillery, because it's just you should having that extra remember, actually, am I mistaken? Is it that you go from breach on 14s to 14s and 13s with the first artillery, or is it that you need +3 status to get to 13? I think that it's... I need to check, actually. I think maybe you do need 3 status. But anyway, the value artillery is super good, you know. It does give you status right away. Yeah, okay, so we're talking about 2 different things, though, aka Ile Asvile. You're talking about instantaneous status, which is good. It effectively, like, it pulls you out of the range where you're... I have a whole spreadsheet. I'll pull it up. Primary value in the first artillery is that you instantly always, regardless of disease arc, in fact, will always have... What, I'm not looking for that. You always have at least +1 siege status, which speeds up sieges, of course. But the other factor is that for every 3 siege status that you have from artillery bonus and obsolete fort bonus and insufficient support or insufficient garrison size, you add those things together divided by 3. Each third status from those sources increases the range that you can obtain a wall breach. Normally, you only can get a wall breach on a 14 when you roll the 14-sided die. And I was trying to remember if you increase that range from 14s to 13s and 14s at the first artillery only, or if you actually need to get to the full +3. And off the top of my head, I think it actually is at +3 that you get breaches on 13s, 14s. But it might be that you get 13s, 14s with just the first artillery, and then you get breaches on 12s, 13s, 14s with the third. I need to check the wiki again. Wiki is also not super reliable for super nitty-gritty mechanics like this that are not explained anywhere, by the way. Knowing that that is a mechanic, knowing that only every third siege status from this, plus the, oh, their forts are obsolete, and also they have less than half garrison. These specific things only. Disregard, the blockade effect. Disregard leader's siege. Disregard the siege status or something. And only add these specific 3 that I'm not going to tell you about anywhere in the UI, everywhere, or anything. But if you do those, I'm not going to update this tooltip, by the way. I'm not going to say in here that on a 14 or 13 that you're going to get a wall breach. I'm just going to leave it and have it always say that you get wall breaches on 14s. It doesn't even say in there that you get it on 14s. On a natural 1, you get a disease outbreak. Surrender happens, 43%. Yeah, it actually just straight up doesn't even mention that a 14 will give you a wall breach. In this tooltip. It should be there. Each siege phase has a chance to breach the walls. Breaching the walls gives +3. Artillery increases the likelihood of achieving a breach. Yeah, but you should specify what the formula is. Obsolete forts are easier to breach. Yeah, so that is, in a roundabout way, mentioning that, yeah, obsolete fort bonus plus artillery. But what it is specifically is whatever this is, 5 plus, if there's obsolete fort modifier in the tooltip for hovering over the fort. If this is instead of -1 or -2 in vanilla, if it's instead half of that because, or whatever, -1 because the fort is out of date. And then also, it doesn't actually say it in the garrison anywhere. But if a garrison is less than half strength, you also get insufficient troops. And that one is also added to it. Those divided by 3, rounded down, gets added to the dynamic range for wall breach. That's what they're summarizing in this. Artillery increases the likelihood of achieving a breach. Whatever, I need to find the spreadsheet again. I forget. And I need to turn the light on. It's making me tired. Barrage. We did this math, it's been years already, but it was we were trying to decide, like, how good is barrage, is what was the initial driving question. And based on doing our experimentation and research and stuff, we also realized that, wow, just starting a siege at a slightly higher status. If you look at that tooltip, the results of a roll are, we have a 14% chance, 2 out of 14, to obtain a food shortage. Food shortage, I believe, is minus 1 or 2. I can't remember. I think it might be minus 2. Water shortage is minus 3, I want to say. Defenders, desserts. It tells you when the thing happens, or if you hover over the previous roll, but it doesn't tell you. Why doesn't it tell you in here? It should say food shortage, 12 to 13, minus plus 1 status. Water shortage, 14 to 15, plus 2 status, or whatever, whatever the number. Why does it hide it? Anyway, what was I saying? So because they all have different actual effectiveness, like when you hit the water shortage, that's better than hitting a food shortage. And when you have very, very low chance to actually succeed in a siege, like say at the very beginning of the game, no artillery, and you're trying to siege down Constantinople, you've got a bare bones, pure infantry siege. And because it's non-blockaded coastal fort, then you only have like a 7% chance for a food shortage. That's different than being at 2 status is huge when those are the circumstances, because not only are you making progress towards success, but you've increased the effectiveness of every roll because you're gated, you're locked out of the higher quality effects until you reach a certain breakpoint. So again, the spreadsheet that I'm gonna find, hopefully here, maybe between episodes, since it's flashing at me now, we realized that just bypassing those very, very first crap rolls where you can barely make progress and jumping into the much juicier return on investment rolls is very, very good. So it's not just that you start with a higher base status, it's also that you're increasing the average gain per roll. Hopefully I explained that all well. Can't think because it's too dark in here. Hot in here. God, Pancake, stop yelling at me. But yeah, like you wouldn't know that it's every third artillery unless I told you from looking at this tooltip, right? There are some people who just learned that that's a thing. And I honestly didn't learn that it was every third status from artillery, insufficient garrison size, and or obsolete fort until like less than a year ago. And when I did learn that, all this is coming to the conclusion of my favorite early game composition is actually like an 806 stack. I used to run 1010 stacks because I wanted the full 5 status, right? Because that's the most you could get. But when I learned that a 1010 stack doesn't increase the range of your wall breaches, you actually need 6 status before you actually obtain the next chance. I was under the false impression that having 10 artillery was actually doing something in that way, like increasing breach chance. But the budget economic approach, maximize wall breach chance, minimize budget cost, minimize stack size, since stack size is very important when you've got very low file limits. A 1006 or an 806 is the sweet spot because you get that increased wall breach range, which is massive. Because again, a wall breach is an instant +3 to your status. Not to mention availability of assault, which is strategic and useful. And also the +3. I want to say that the +3. If we rolled a breach right now, it would definitely change the siege status from 42% to plus 21% higher. Like, that's what a breach does. I'm just trying to remember if it actually increments this here. It'll say 1 here, and it'll say, I think it says 1 here and 2 here is how it actually tracks it. And there's a reason why I'm being so pedantic about like where it puts it, and that is that the most status you can actually accrue and hold is 12. This number does change over time, by the way, based on increased fort level. It does go up to 15 for the end game when you've got higher level forts, but you can only have 12 siege status from actual siege events. And even though a wall breach does give 3, it actually is only giving 2 over here and 1 over here. So it's giving you an extra +1 above the 12 status cap. Does that make sense? Like, you can store actually like 15 here if you obtained 3 breaches. And that hopefully makes it clear why doubling your chance for a breach is so good. Not only are you getting plus 21% chance, but also only 2 of it counts toward the cap. So like you're getting, it's just very, very good. Okay, I'm gonna put a cut in here and go turn the light on and stretch my legs, and then we'll come back after I find the spreadsheet. All right, see you in the next episode if you're watching on YouTube. Otherwise, stick around on Twitch, and I'll be back in just a sec.